There you go, man. I'll tell you, forbearance, is that a 4-letter word or what?
Yeah.
I tell
Well,
you.
it's tricky, right?
It
Welcome
is.
in. Good week, good couple weeks. We
Yeah.
took a week off there.
We did.
Had a couple of closings and things that kind of got in the way of the old show, but
yeah, this is great.
Here
This
we
is
are
great.
again.
Life is good, and sunshine, the weather's great, and we're coming out of a lot of craziness, right?
a lot of crazy.
A lot of craziness. You talk about forbearance. Forbearance is one of those things that a lot of misconceptions out there. A lot of people have no idea what they signed up for when they got into forbearance, and still don't know what the truth is when coming out of it, right?
Yeah.
So
last year was a very trying year, 2020.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're listening to this in 2025, we're talking about 2020.
Correct.
Business could live forever on the internet.
This could.
Our podcast
Forever.
could go forever. So during the COVID pandemic, a lot of lenders said, hey, we know times are tight. We'll offer you a forbearance on your mortgage so you don't get behind or lose your home. So a forbearance really, right, is kind of like a deferment, sort of,
Right.
but not really. Because a deferment, they kind of place things at the end of the loan.
Right.
A forbearance, you may have been able to do like a 3-month forbearance for a year or 2. And then those payments are due then
In full. Or
at the end of those,
At the end of
that time period.
right. Absolutely.
Now, some lenders, depending on who you had, may have
Sure.
said, hey, we'll do it for 29 years or whatever.
Sure.
Okay, so
Right.
it works more like a deferral.
Right.
It was really designed to help people. And the unfortunate thing, I think, Kevin, and I don't know, maybe I'm speaking out of place, is that maybe they thought they weren't quite sure what forbearance was.
Right. And I think some people had a miscommunication. Some people thought you just got tacked on to the end of your mortgage.
Yeah.
Some people thought it was due right away. As soon as the deferment was over or things went back to normal, it was due.
Yeah.
Some people think it's due when you sell your house, and some of those are true and some are not.
Yeah.
And there are variations to each of those. Right?
Yeah.
So.
And the interesting thing, I think, is that right now there's a lot of misinformation.
Correct. Yeah.
I believe there might be some lenders out there who might be using scare tactics.
Right.
I would think there might be some realtors out there as well who have gotten a snippet of perhaps what people can and can't do who are in forbearance or in a forbearance repayment.
Sure.
And so they've given a little bit of information, but it may not be the whole truth and exactly what's out there. And before we jump into this too, I want to make the disclaimer that you check with your lender.
Absolutely. Yep.
Each lender is going to be a little bit different on how they've chosen to work with forbearances. But please check with your lender. Some of the information that I'll be giving today on some questions, Kevin, will be out of the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines.
And that's a great place to look because they run a lot of that for sure.
They do a lot,
Right.
Which is good. But again, the most important thing is to just check with your lender.
Correct.
And that is servicing your mortgage currently if you are in forbearance to see what you can and cannot do.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So when we're listing homes now, that's the first question we're asking is did you take advantage of the forbearance?
Yep.
And if so, what does that look like? And we're getting in contact with their lender to make sure, what they can and can't do. Because whether it's FHA or a conventional loan, it looks a little different.
Yeah.
Right. So again, checking with the lender and make sure you understand the guidelines.
Yeah. And it's definitely different through what we would call govies or government loans, FHA, VA, those types of things, than it is with a conventional type mortgage. And right now, after being in the same house almost a year, people are going, I think it's time to move. But can I?
Right.
And boy, I just don't know if it's the right time. And well, I've got this doggone forbearance thing. I haven't made 3 payments. I don't know what's happening. Maybe I'll just sit on the house until I figure it out or it's over or whatever.
Right.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know who to contact.
Right.
They're like, well, how do I navigate this? And it's always good to check in with your lender on occasion, and hopefully your lender, like Kent here, keeps in contact with his previous clients and kind of educates them where they're at.
Yeah.
And what this means for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, the most important thing also going forward is just having some knowledge and understanding what it is that you're going through. And don't ask your neighbor. That's what the neighborhood pulse is all about, right? Is your neighbor may have had something different or never been in forbearance.
Right.
No. Yeah, here's the truth, right?
Right.
When in fact they may not have a clue.
Right. That's
or
true.
They may have a different lender than you, and they're on a different program. They've got a different type of mortgage. Maybe they've got an adjustable rate mortgage. Maybe they've got a VA mortgage.
Yeah.
And you've just got an FHA or
conventional. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's you can't just take your neighbor's word for it because that shoe may not fit.
Right. So conventional mortgage, FHA mortgage, VA mortgage, and such. They say there's loan modifications, a lot of different going on there.
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference between a conventional mortgage and an FHA mortgage in a situation like this?
The government may be a little bit more lenient than, because when you're in an FHA, and that's what I mean by a government loan, when you're in an FHA loan, they take a little bit higher risk. Their debt to income ratios are a little bit higher than a conventional. Sure. It's really for borrowers who maybe had some hiccups with their credit, maybe don't have quite enough for a down payment because FHA has a smaller down payment. So there may be a few more stipulations on the FHA forbearance than there are, on a conventional.
Sure.
Right. And what we can go over, I guess, what I'd like to talk about is the conventional piece, because a lot of people have conventional.
Right.
And if we've got time, we can circle back on the FHA.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So, any good questions for me?
None.
Okay.
0.
I've got some. I've jotted down some questions that are frequently asked, and some people had tuned, sent email.
Can a conventional mortgage sell today and buy today?
Can you sell?
Close on the same day, buy on the same day?
That is a good question. And it, again, yes and no. Right. So it's really this. If a borrower has entered into a repayment plan, right, to resolve the missing payments during forbearance. So if now I'm at the point where I'm repaying those months that are missed, must that be completed before I purchase a new or refinancing them?
Right.
The answer to that is no.
Okay.
Right. It does not have to be paid in full or completed.
Right.
Right. So taking a look at the Fannie Mae guidelines, it says that if the borrower has entered into a repayment plan to resolve missed payments, the borrower is eligible for a new purchase or refinance transaction after making 3 timely payments. Now, this is what a lot of people are hearing. Now, I've got to make 3 timely payments on this. Alternatively, though, if the repayment plan is completed in fewer than 3 payments, then the borrower is eligible upon completion.
Sure, because it's paid back and you're back on track with your mortgage.
Right. Everything is up to date. It's all snuff. We're
That's good.
Okay. So that would happen if you sold your house, right? And then you'd be
fine to buy. Absolutely.
Right. Now here's the sticky part, right? So the sticky part comes: can they buy the same day? Well, the sticky part is that it all depends on at the time of your application, you're going to say, yes, I'm in forbearance. Your mortgage lender should ask the questions, are you in a forbearance?
Absolutely.
And you're going to say yes. Okay, great. And then there's a few more, are you in a repayment plan yet or whatever, right? And so the interesting thing being is that you've said, yes, I'm in forbearance.
Right.
So we've got you approved, but now what has to happen is your mortgage company now has to say you're out of forbearance. Okay. So here's what happens. I sell my house and close on it today, and I've got one waiting in the wings. And sometimes if it works out right, I can close on the same day from the purchase of my new home.
Sure.
The mortgage company has to receive the payments
and
then report
it
that it is now paid off. That's not going to happen on the same day.
Correct.
It's just not.
Yep.
Because you marked yes on that application.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So what happens is that now we have to wait and get proof that you are no longer in forbearance before we can close the next loan.
Right. Which means
basically
the next business day. Correct.
Yeah.
So that's great. So you want to schedule your closing on your first home on Thursday, not on Friday.
Correct.
So you have Friday to buy.
Otherwise, you're staying at a hotel
on Monday. That's right.
Through the weekend.
And your little weekend trip.
Yeah. So now, here's the other thing that I want to make sure to say is, if you tell your mortgage lender, no, we're not in forbearance.
Ooh.
Now we falsified,
Right. Yeah.
Then that's a lot of ugly stuff going on.
Too much.
And you could get up and sell your house, and because you falsified information on that application, they might go, wait, this was in forbearance.
Right. That's truth. And
the way you decline the loan, and now you're homeless.
Right. Now I've seen the reporting of forbearance is a little tricky, because I'm hearing that, you can tell me because you work with this more, is they're running it through a designated underwriter, an electronic type system. Correct. And it doesn't show that forbearance. So they run that system and it says, you can get a mortgage, let's go. Yeah. And we're off to the races, right? Yeah.
So the mortgage companies are not reporting that it's in forbearance to the credit bureaus. So we have no idea.
Right.
We have no idea. However, once it comes down to it, and there's a payoff requested and things like that, they're like, okay, it's $270,000, and then here's your forbearance piece. Whoops.
Right. And that can be a significant number, right?
It can be. Three payments. Depending on the size of your home. If it's if you got a $250,000 home, I mean, that could be $3,000-$4,000.
Sure. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so the reporting, like you said, is in the back, and when they do catch that, get that payoff and stuff. Yeah. You may be down the road far enough where this can cause you some real headaches and some financial difficulty. So it's important to say, yes, you were, and then make sure everybody understands that. Because the forbearance was an amazing assistant for what was going on, where people were at.
Yeah. So here's kind of what I, here's kind of a scenario. This is a good one, right? So on June 15th, let's say, so a couple weeks back, you entered into a repayment plan. In other words, a loan modification trial period plan. So now you're saying, we're in a good place. We want to start paying back our deferment.
Right.
Now this means I'm making an extra payment on top of my regular payment.
Right. So now it can be any negotiated amount, or does it have to be a certain? It's what you agreed to when it went into. Got it.
Right. So let's say that on June 15th you say, okay, let's do this, and you make your first payment on July 1st, and you make your second payment on August 1st, and then you make your last payment on September 1st.
Right.
Okay.
3 months.
So there's your 3 on-time payments, right? September 1st, once the borrower makes the third payment, has receipts showing that third payment has been made, for that third month, the new loan may close.
There you go. Love it. Love it.
Okay. Now, really what that's really again on if you're in the payment plan.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I've made that payment. I've got receipts showing that I've made that payment.
Mhm.
I may move forward. I can close on the same day I make my third payment.
Right.
What's the difference of paying it off in a lump sum as a well, I can get the immediate showing I've made that payment.
Right.
Right. And now we may close. However, if I'm using the funds from the sale of the house to pay off that forbearance, that's the day wait.
Right.
Right. Because
Absolutely.
now the title company is sending that,
Right.
wiring that money to the mortgage to pay off that mortgage.
And the forbearance.
And and the forbearance. So
then it
now
records.
we have to wait that business day.
So now people that went into forbearance, some of them, got on it real quick. So now if they missed a payment or two prior to getting into forbearance, does that prevent them from getting a mortgage for a period of time, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, you can get a mortgage as long as you're credit worthy.
Right.
You qualify, then yeah. Yeah, so and here's what it's saying about those three payments. It's, note, the 3 monthly payment due dates must pass before the borrower can close on the new loan.
Right. So pass meaning recorded and reported.
Right.
And then we have access to that, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's it.
Yep.
That's crazy, right?
So it's sticky and it's tricky, but it's nothing to be scared of.
It's not. It's really not. And
it's just you need to know.
Right. And just talk to your lender. Make that phone call. It's an uncomfortable phone call because we don't like to talk about things that we're not knowledgeable about. But I think it's important to give them a call and talk about that and see what your options are. I mean, some people are getting loan modifications that fit their lifestyle or their needs best, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've heard 40-year mortgages might be coming out of this. Is that something? Any word on that? Not that this is not forbearance. This is just a side note.
We hope not. I mean, we had that back in, if you remember, I think that was instituted, 2010, 2011, something like that, with HARP. If you remember HARP. And they took people because of the crash and the values of their home, and they stretched them out to 40-year loans, amortizations. I think we learned from that, so I'm hoping that
it's a long time.
We don't end up in that position again.
Sure.
And the thing I think as well, Kevin, is there's a refi now that's out there designed more for the lower income, lower credit score people, who missed last year's refinance boom,
right?
To help them refinance and lower their rate to help them out financially, but no 40-year terms at this point. Does it mean that it won't happen? No.
Yeah. No. So I would not like to see that, because I think it just puts people in a bad position for
really
a long period of time.
It really does.
So we don't want to see that. Now they're saying.
So I just a quick story is I've seen where somebody did that HARP and took a 40-year note and was paying like 8%.
Wow.
And they still have like 30 years left, at 8%, but they're still way over the value of their home.
Right.
So as they went to try to refinance, couldn't do it because they're still underwater.
Sure. It's crazy, because a mortgage is designed that you pay most of the interest up front.
Yeah.
So if you're on a 40-year mortgage, there's a lot more time to pay interest, right?
Huge.
So,
Keep grabbing this mouse like it's going to work.
So the forbearance, so some people are saying, boy, when the market, shifts or this and that with these forbearances, people are going to find themselves in foreclosure and in big trouble. And what do you see on that? What's your?
Yeah, that's what I mean. A lot of people thought that they were deferrals, or it was sold to them like a deferral. So if you can think of your car, which is a simple interest loan, right? Is if I break my knee or something and miss work, the bank will probably go, hey, here's what we'll do. We'll defer a payment or two. Basically, we'll put it on the end of your loan.
Sure.
And so we put it on the end of your loan, and you don't have to worry about a payment. July and August, you'll start back up with your regular payments in September. And you're like, okay, that's cool. That is a deferred payment. Right now, you're still getting all the interest racked up and everything. On a mortgage, a lot of the forbearance was, we'll do a 3-month forbearance for you for a year or 2 or 3 or whatever the term was that your bank was offering. And then what happens though is that you continue to make so you skip those 3 months or whatever. You paid your interest or your real estate taxes. You kept your escrow going.
Sure.
Your loan was still gathering interest, and you may have had to pay just interest and then your escrow. So you made a smaller payment, felt good.
Right.
But now it's like a balloon payment, I would call it, because now at the end of that negotiated time, you now have to make that. And what they're saying is, instead of taking all 3 months and having a balloon, you need to give us 3 monthly on-time payments for that deferral on top of your regular
mortgage. Right?
Mortgage. And some people are getting back to work and things like that, and they're like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, if you weren't working and you got the forbearance, you still have other bills that need to be paid.
Yes.
Right. And you're not working. And some people use credit cards as a way to pay the daily bills, get the daily groceries, get the the necessities of life.
Yeah.
And that can cause some heartache when you're trying to make that double payment on paying it back. So there's a little bit of give there, right? But the light at the end of the tunnel is there's some great things going on too, right?
Correct. So as I just mentioned, now you've got to do these 3 payments. People are like, well, why don't I just do a cash out refinance?
Yeah, good luck.
Okay. And that's a great question.
It is. It's fantastic.
Okay. And here's the way that Fannie Mae looks at it. When there's a lump sum payment, okay, to reinstate the mortgage loan on or after the loan application date for the new transaction, we have to document the source of funds in accordance with the eligible sources, right? Any source of funds that is eligible. Now, note the lump sum payment may be made prior to the loan application date, which is fine, and then you don't have to source those. But if you've taken that application, then we have to source those. Can you use the payments from that cash out, the lump sum from that cash out, to pay off my forbearance? No.
Right. No. See?
Simple.
Right. It's simple.
Right.
It's simple. It sounds like a good solution, though, doesn't it?
It does sound like a good solution, but you can't do it.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
It's unfortunate.
But to your point, I could put that on 2 different or 3 different credit cards.
Right. And then
pay it, be done, and then do a refinance. Okay.
Right.
So as long as it's done before the application date, all good.
Right.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now, can you do that with gifts? Can you get a gift from a relative, you think?
Again, as long as it's done before the application date. So if mom and dad are like, here's $3,000 to get you caught up on your mortgage. As long as it's done before you put in your application for a refinance or a new purchase or anything like that,
sure.
All good.
Sure.
All good. I don't have to worry about that. Anything done after that application date, I now have to source and say, are you selling drugs, or where do we get this money?
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah. Just stop by MSB and pick up some extra cash.
Yeah. Right.
What happened?
So so I mean, it's crazy to think, desperate times call for desperate measures, and I mean, literally March, April, May of 2020, we thought the world was going to end.
It was scary times for sure.
Yeah.
You had people like losing jobs and nobody's going out. I mean, we weren't selling homes, we weren't giving mortgages. That's a fact.
Right.
I mean, it was everything just kind of shut down. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
we were busy doing refinance. People are home like, might as well refinance. We're just sitting at home. But I mean, driving around the Chicagoland area was brilliant because it was like an atomic bomb. There's nobody on the roads ever.
They're back out there today.
They are. Yes, they are.
As everybody might have noticed, right?
Oh man,
no, that's kind of crazy. So the banks. So people say, is this like 2008? Are we going to crash and burn like we did? And it sounds like the government is encouraging banks to work with folks. And folks, I think, are in a better position, more knowledgeable from what happened in 2008 and learning from those.
Yeah.
So a couple of things is, one, house prices are up because inventory is down. So some people that are behind might have an opportunity to sell it and have additional income.
Right.
Take some equity out of that home when they leave, and they can rent or buy or whatever the case may be. Because some people not only are back to work, but they're maybe not back to work at the same salary or the same pay rate or making the same kind of money. So they may need to downsize temporarily or go into rental or something of that nature. So I think banks are happy to work with people right now. And I think the number of foreclosures that we're going to see are going to be a lot lower than 2008.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's this fact.
And that's the cool thing, I think, is I watch a lot of people have been nervous and kind of watching as home prices have risen. It's not just the appraisers, it's your customers.
Right.
They're going, wait a minute. You know what? I'm going to wait because this is getting crazy.
Right.
I really like that house. Kevin, I'd like to go see that house. And you say, there's 22 bids on it. It just came on the market. There's now 25 bids on it. And so it's interesting. So I think a lot of people are like, I don't want to have happen what happened.
Right.
And I don't want to get into that.
Right.
Again, I lived through it, so it's like, I'm going to pull back. Let's take a look at this maybe in September.
Right.
So
some people are waiting. We've seen a lot of different reactions. We've seen people that have sold and are going into rentals.
Yep.
We've seen people that have sold in Illinois and moved to other states. We've had people move east from or north and west from the city. Yep. So we've seen a lot of different changes. They say a lot of people leaving Illinois, but there's people coming to Illinois too. I mean, we have a lot to offer, even though our taxes are high. Those taxes do go towards some great things.
Yeah,
but it's kind of crazy.
Oh, I enjoy Illinois. I don't know.
That's right. And I think some people that are in forbearance, right?
Yeah.
Will have to sell. Are going to be in a position where maybe they are underemployed and can no longer afford that home, or maybe they couldn't afford it to begin with, or whatever the case was. And this sped that up. Is that those homes, when they come on the market, is going to help alleviate some of these prices, bring them down a little bit. We're seeing a little tick of that now.
Yeah.
Right.
The home prices are coming down. The appraisers, again, like you said, are controlling it a little bit better. Like, this 960 square foot 2-bedroom bungalow is not worth $300,000.
Right. It's insane.
What about a garage? There is no garage.
That's right. So I think people handled it a lot better this time. I think we're more educated, and I think so we learn from our past.
Yep.
We learn from our past. We learn what we can and can't do and what works. And like you're giving this great information now of how you can avoid some of the pitfalls of this forbearance and some of the miscommunication and miseducation that's coming out from the internet and your neighbor and such.
Well, and the big thing too is don't wait till it's too late.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't if you're feeling the choke now and your forbearance repayment plan is coming up this time next year, don't wait. Either get out in front of it now, ask for help, redo it, or put the house on the market.
Right.
And get up before you ruin your credit.
Right. And then you're stuck.
And then you're stuck. Now,
right.
Yeah, moving is a pain in the butt. However, if you can get out from underneath something that you can't afford right now, do it.
It's a blessing.
Yeah,
trust me, because when you're losing your house, and it's a nightmare.
It's scary. It's bad.
Yeah.
You certainly don't want to. You certainly don't want to.
Right.
Ruin your credit and not be able to get a house then for
extended period of time,
3 to 5 years. Right?
Yeah, that's a long time. It's a very long time, and you could always move in with family. not. You could, but it's a long time. A lot of people don't want to do that. But there's a lot of great stuff going on. The banks are working. I know the National Association of Realtors is out in front of this, being champions for homeowners. So that is fantastic as well. And affordable payments and loan modifications, right? So if somebody's in forbearance, that's kind of a loan modification, right?
Yeah.
But not really. I mean, is it?
Yeah. No, it is. Once you go into the repayment plan, you're now in a loan modification.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can remodify the loan modification, right? So that's something that when you talk to your lender, if you're like, man, we're stuck, we're not going to be able to
I'm
make it.
nodding my head for all those people out there.
That's right. That's right.
On the radio, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been up and down about, no, it's true. And Derek says, Derek's out there, he's like, hey, I want to sell, but I don't want to buy right now.
That's it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are like that. My neighbors have their house up for sale. They've had a lot of people look at it. Now they're getting ready to retire, move to Arkansas, and but they've got a beautiful, RV that they're like, well, we'll go down there. We'll keep our stuff in storage, and we'll go down there, and once we find a place,
get all ready, right?
Yeah, we can pay for. We can pay a couple grand for 3 months, to just stay live in our camper. That's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Which type of loan do you think is in the biggest, are going to see the biggest problems coming at them? Do you think it'll be
It's the FHAs.
FHAs.
Yeah, and again, it's just the government type loans, the FHA, like we said at the beginning of the show, is geared more towards people with perhaps a little bit not as strong credit, maybe not as big of a down payment, and that's why they have their mortgage insurance and whatnot on the payment as well. So I think probably, and I think you had a statistic when we were talking in the green room, that there are more FHA loans in forbearance.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was FHA and minorities were going to be the biggest number of people seeing a little bit of issues. And then FHA mortgages, obviously we talked about that. And, and it said lower income individuals as well, which makes sense because it's, if your income, and a lot of people that were affected the worst in the pandemic, I think were people that blue collar workers, servers, people that were in the public industry, retail, because nobody was going to a lot of these places. Everything was kind of closed down. Sporting events and things like that. There was a lot of lives that got affected for a long period of time. I mean, you look at Wrigley Field, all the people that work there and make that run, right?
Right.
When did that open up for public? Just recently.
Yeah,
I mean,
the 4th of July or something.
Yeah, so just recently that opened up. So they've been out since last March all the way, so almost a year and a half. So how do you recover from that? I mean, that's tough. Do they have other income? I don't know what the situation was with that, but it makes it tough.
Especially those folks who are slinging peanuts or whatever. They get paid $15 an hour, but they get a bunch of tips too.
Yeah, absolutely, they do.
Right? And it's it's seasonal, but holy bejeekers, they lost out on a crap ton of money.
Absolutely,
it's brutal.
I know, yeah.
So folks, you tuned in, and appreciate you tuning in. You're listening to the Neighborhood Pulse real estate show here, 216 and Net, brought to you, of course, with Kevin callback from
Realty Executives Cornerstone. Give us a call at 708-277-3913. You can reach us by email, or let's go to the website at ourcommunityagent.com.
Ourcommunityagent.com. And of course, I'm Kent Jones with McHenry Savings Bank, MSB, I'll call it, right? And to take care of the mortgages and lending. So between the two of us, well, shoot, we probably can answer a lot of your real estate questions. And that's what the show is really designed to do.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of information out there. Next week we're going to have Kim Keefe on.
Hey, we are.
Right?
Hey.
We're going to have Kim Keefe from Keefe
Real Estate, right? And
no
relation. I'm not saying a thing. Keep Real Estate, we're going to be talking about you still have time to move before school starts,
Yeah.
A lot of people want to have their kids settled in before they get going. So we're going to talk about options for folks.
Yeah.
And what that looks like, which is kind of crazy, right?
That's it. So forbearance is tricky, and it really is going to hedge and depend on what your
and it's not a death sentence.
It's not.
There's solutions out there, but you got to take some action. You got to look and see what's due, when it's due, and talk to your lender before it becomes a problem, because they're more apt to work with you. Once it's in a problem, is just those problems start to compound.
Yeah, again, you talk to the professional. I know your neighbor knows a lot. If my neighbors were to talk to me about their mortgage, if it was in forbearance, I would tell them the same thing. It really depends on what you and your lender have agreed on, and it really depends on what type of loan you have, and what you're thinking of doing. What is it that you're thinking of doing? You can refinance, right? You just have to make those 3 payments on time to have that modified loan to qualify for that.
Make it good, yeah.
Yeah.
And that might be the best answer for some people, is just kind of refi and kind of reset some things there. Interest rates are still fantastic.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Still
some people were afraid that they were gonna jump up fairly quickly, and I think they're gonna stay low for a longer period of time here. I think we got a while.
What they say, the rates will probably go up, 2023 or something.
Something like that. So we got a little bit of time, which is kind of nice. And as prices, house prices, if they start to come down, you still got the lower interest rates. It could be a good time to buy. And as more homes are coming on the market, you'll be able to find something. So it's a good time to sell. So I think it's all starting to come together a little bit.
Just starting to come together. I'm just taking a look at something here on the FHA. Let's just see.
Well, majority of the people that are in forbearance right now, according to the NAR report, the National Association of Realtors, 77% of the homeowners in forbearance are exiting with a loss mitigation repayment plan in place. Like you were talking about, there's a plan for you to pay that back. It doesn't have to be a huge sum of money at one time. It can be a repayment program or plan.
Yeah. So FHA, if the loan is in forbearance, they say that you can't do any a non-arm's length transaction. Is when there's a direct relationship between the buyer and the seller. So if I'm in forbearance, I want to get out of it, I sell it to my dad.
Yeah.
I can't do that, right? So there, you got to be. FHA, the government, they know all the tricks of the trade, and and you look at it. Now, maybe you have an investor. I don't know. Maybe Kevin wants to buy the house, and I want to rent from Kevin.
That's right. Yeah, I like it.
I don't know, and I don't have to move out.
Right. That's right.
I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about my forbearance.
Yep. Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, using proceeds from the sale of a non-arm's length transaction is not allowed. So yeah, there's just some things there, right?
Yeah, there's some rules.
Yeah,
that's it, and that's talk to your lender, talk to your attorney, talk to your realtor, to get pointed in the right direction. And I think you'd be in great shape. And don't be afraid of it, and just make sure that you're getting the best information from the
you really do
from the pros, right?
Yeah, you really want the best information that you can possibly think of. And this is not only is it your home. Usually, for most of us, this is the largest monetary transaction that we ever do.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you don't buy much bigger than your house.
No. Right? And so when you're taking a look at that, man, it's hard. It's hard to separate that emotional part of your home to the financial piece, but you have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And if you're went into forbearance because you lost your job or whatever the case may be, or even if you didn't lose your job, but you're like, hey, if I don't have to pay my mortgage for 3 months, I want to take advantage of that. And you qualify.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
That's right.
And you qualify, for it. You at that time, it seemed like a good idea because, like we said at the beginning of the show, the world was going to end.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
That's it. I know some people that took advantage of it because they could.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they needed it. And they see, that maybe that wasn't the best idea for them just because they thought it was free money. They misunderstood what it was. I think that's really the key is I think some people misunderstood what it was.
It was
too.
sold. I mean, there are some lenders out there and some banks that were selling it improperly.
Yeah. So and when that happens, there's always confusion that comes from that.
Yep.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, we're here to talk about what the truth is and what we can do.
And now you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know, Kevin. I don't know if I will ever make enough to make 2 payments a month.
Right.
For 1 month, let alone 3 in a row.
If it
has to be 3 and timely.
Right.
So once I start that, I can't go, oops, I can't do it this month.
Exactly, right? I'm just shuffling through here real quick. So the NAR has an affordable repayment term for missed mortgages, 5% of the family income.
Yep.
So 5% of the family income, so they do have plans in place, and we want to make sure you get paid on time, right? So that is good stuff. I had 3 months. If I had to double my mortgage, like 3 months in a row, that'd be tough.
It's hard to do.
That's very hard to do. And most people live check to check, right? And when you haven't been working for a period of time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not, you're retired.
Right. Right.
Right. Or you won the lottery. So, the other thing that I want everybody to understand with a forbearance is if I'm only making partial payments, you're behind.
Right. Those are late.
I entered into it, but you know what? I got to pay an extra $500 a month or whatever the case may be. I'm just making that up. And I decide I only want to pay $250, or I can only pay $250. Now you're behind.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't refinance. You can't buy a new house at that point because now your credit's going to be showing
a late payment. Right.
So you really have to take a look at that and go, what is it that I can actually do?
Right. How long does a late payment have to be in your past before you can buy a house typically?
Well, if you're 30, that's okay. We, depending on the program and the lender, Fannie Mae, those people, it's how many 30s within the last 12 months can I get away with?
Right. No, absolutely.
So to answer that, it all depends on what type of loan you're looking at, what lender.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
right.
some, there are some out there. You could have 2 or 3 30 days in the last 12 months.
Sure.
But now if there's a 60 or a 90 or
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. We have to take a show to talk just about financing and mortgage and credit scores and how that all falls into place and how they're calculated and all that stuff. Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about that too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And there are great lenders out there, and we'll have some on the show as well. And there are great lending companies out there. But again, as we talked about in our last show, how do you choose one? What do you look at?
That's it.
You've got to always keep those things in mind. But there's a lot out there. And I said, when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars, which usually we are,
right?
It's a big investment.
It's huge. That's it. I tell you, it's crazy. The life is good, and that calls it. I think this is a wrap.
Are we at that time?
We're at that time. It went quick, didn't it?
It did go by.
I know.
Fast.
We didn't get all our information out, but that's okay.
Just keep going. What's on your plate for the next week, Kevin? How many houses you got on the market?
We got a couple open houses this weekend, and you haven't seen many open houses lately, but we got a great one on the water, 501 Kingston Boulevard, off of Bastaki and Nipper Sink there, right at the point. And ground pool, gazebo, 2 stories, windows with beautiful views everywhere. We'll be there. Actually, we're not open house there. That's just a great house we have listed.
That's a great
We have
house,
an
yeah.
amazing house, open house at 1812 Alta. It's an active adult home. It's a year and a half old only, and it's got 100 Douglas blinds and all the upgrades and updates you get that you don't get when you buy it new. Those are all done for you already. So that's 1812 Alta Drive in Colorado, Illinois.
I thank everybody for getting caught in the net here with us. This has been the Neighborhood Pulse. He's Kevin Callback. And we will see you next time.
Got it. Peace.